Welcome to today's Employer Insights webinar. My name is Jo Gubas and I lead Community and Corporate Relations at the University of Washington Professional and Continuing Education. I think most of you are familiar with our organization, but for those who aren't, our team helps people keep learning at the University of Washington, whether you're working full-time, juggling families, or living outside of the area. We have programs for you. We offer part-time professional certificate programs, short courses, boot camps, and master's programs in a wide range of fields. And we, as our learners, are often looking to study with us in order to change careers or go deeper into their career, look for new jobs. We've developed these career resources to support you in your next steps. This Employer Insight panel is part of a series that we started last January, spotlighting leading employers to learn about their values and culture and hiring approaches. We've featured companies like Amazon, Microsoft, and various others, which we have recordings on our website if you'd like to go back and look at them. But for today, we're going to hear from our friends at T-Mobile. And I'm thrilled to host this panel today, which was originally planned for last April and had to be rescheduled. So if some of you have been waiting to hear this since April, today's the day. So with over 75,000 employees serving over 100 million customers, T-Mobile defines itself as America's supercharged Un-carrier. T-Mobile is famous for its unwavering obsession with offering the best possible customer experience and has a drive for disruption that is innovating the wireless industry and beyond. Their headquarters is in Bellevue, which is just across the water from the University of Washington. And I know that many of our past professional certificate students have gone on to build great careers there. So for that reason, it's great to have the panel here today. And you're going to hear about some of the, career opportunities, learn a little bit about the workplace culture. There's a lot of magenta that happens at T-Mobile, so maybe we'll hear about that as well. But before I get started, I just want to encourage you to add questions into the Q&A during the discussion, and we'll get to those later on. And if you have a question, just check to see if anyone else has already noted it first, and then use the thumbs up feature to upvote it. Okay, so with that, I'd like to introduce Shilpa Bano, the Director of Network Technology at T-Mobile. Hi, Shilpa. Thank you for being with us today.
Hello everyone, and thank you, Jo. I just want to say hello to everybody and welcome to this T-Mo UW Employer Insight session today. Thank you everyone for joining. And Jo, thank you for giving us this opportunity. You know, we are always super excited to share our experiences and insights on life at T-Mobile. And as you said, I've been here for 17 years and there's never a dull moment. So it's always wonderful to be here. So thank you again for this opportunity.
Yeah, we're very excited. I'm going to leave you to introduce the panel, but all I would say is that we've had pretty close relationships with T-Mobile, in particular with Laurie Bingham. She's a senior director at T-Mobile and is one of the advisory board members and watches over our project management certificate program as an advisor, and very pleased to have her closely involved. She's not here today, but you've got some other colleagues, so I will allow you to introduce them. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jo. And as she mentioned, I'm joined here with my wonderful colleagues. I have Olivia Morris, Jocelyn Cespedes, and Kim Brilliant here with me today. So to kick it off, I will start by going around. I'll have them introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their current roles and career path. So maybe Kim, let's kick it off with you.
Sure. Again, my name is Kim Brilliant. I'm a senior technical recruiter here at T-Mobile. I work in our enterprise technical solutions group, and we are always very excited to look for individuals who are driven and are interested in our technical environments. So I'm excited to be on this call today to, chat through some of some of our points in what we look for here in our enterprise services group, and any other questions you might have.
Thank you, Kim. Jocelyn, how about we go to you next?
Hello, everyone. I am Jocelyn Cespedes. I'm a senior manager in the Technical Project Management Office. I've been with T-Mobile for 4 years and loving it. Looking forward to many more.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Jocelyn. Olivia.
Hi, everyone. I'm super happy to be here with all of you guys. Like Jocelyn, I am a manager in the PMO. I've been with T-Mobile for a little over 16 years. I'll have 17 years next year, and this is one of my favorite places that I've ever worked. So happy to be here and continuing to live the dream.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much, Olivia. So to start out, I just want to have all of you share some of the insights on what your career path has been getting to the current role, right? And I think each one of you brings a different flavor, different experience, different background. So I think everybody would love to hear that. So maybe, Olivia, why don't we start with you as to what has it been your career path getting to this current role?
Sure. So I think I took a non-traditional approach to get into the PMO. So I started working at T-Mobile as a contractor in 2004. When I was hired, I was brought on to support the New York and New Jersey market for cell site ads. We were just expanding at the time. And then I transitioned to a full-time employee role and was working in the Tier 2 organization. They're our engineering organization that supports the network. I was there for about 11 years and trying to figure out, hey, what do I really want to do? I was fairly young at the time. So I did some stretch assignments in our legal department, a little bit of HR shadowing. And then I found the Northeast Region PMO group, and I said, hey, what is that group doing? I went through about 2 different job shadow opportunities with them, ranging from about a month to 3 months stretch assignments, and really fell in love with everything that a PM does. We're technical PMs, but we're not subject matter experts all the time. So being able to build relationships and finding out more of the ins and outs of the network was really starting to be interesting to me. So I was able to land a role in the national team for PMO in 2016, and I've been here ever since.
Awesome. And I love that how you've gone through different teams and orgs, and which I think is always wonderful, right? Because then you are expanding your knowledge. And I know, I mean, from a technology perspective, we are so dependent on everything that your team does. Project management. I don't think we'll get anything done without you guys. So thank you.
We bring everyone to the party, yes.
That's right. So maybe Jocelyn, the same question for you. And again, I mean, thanks to the PM team, right? You make things happen for us.
Thank you. Though I have 4 years with T-Mobile, I actually have 21 years of experience in telecom. And prior to T-Mobile's, I did 15 years with an international French company. I got to travel 23 countries with them around the world. That was awesome. I started in the project management in the project management role with them, but then I did operations and maintenance management. Then I moved into business development. Then I got to be the general manager of one of our branches in the Caribbean, and then I moved to be regional director for the Middle East with 3 branches under me. So I was going up, great. And then I said, you know what? I want to have a family. I'm going to take a 2-year break. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go back to the United States. So I came back to the States, and after what felt to me like 100 resumes sent out to get back into the workforce after my 2-year break of being a mom. Finally, T-Mobile opened the door to me with this resume that has no experience in the United States and that has more questions than answers. But I was able to land a role as a senior project manager in the project management office for me, it was just getting my foot in the door. I didn't have to go back to the level I was before. I just wanted to work. After being a year with the project management office, I said, been there, done that, I can give more. And I applied to a senior manager position. And 3 interviews later, I actually got the senior manager position. And actually, no, it was 5 interviews later. I got the senior manager position. And I've been here in this position for 3 years, and it's been great.
Awesome. I love all your experience and especially with the international side. See, it's awesome to have such depth, join T-Mobile. So thank you. Kim, over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I live in Massachusetts. I am part of the Sprint T-Mobile merger. I originally started recruiting back with Nextel here in New England, and I supported all areas of the company here locally, which was anywhere from care, sales, and our technical staff, actually network staff. And then Sprint acquired Nextel, and as you all know, T-Mobile now acquired Sprint. So I have been recruiting. I actually hit my 20-year anniversary in August. A majority of my experience is technical recruiting, all aspects of it, developers, architects, senior software managers. I just really find it interesting. It's never a dull moment, always learning, new skills and capabilities in that area, which, we're always, changing in technology. So that has kept me interested in over the years. When I say 20 years, usually people are like, wow, that's a long time. But I have loved every minute of it. And I extremely love the fact that T-Mobile acquired Sprint. We talk about the magenta, that feeling, and it's quite a feeling to be part of such a wonderful company, and I have firsthand experience at that.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. We will come back to you actually and pick your brain a little bit about, the hiring process, etc. But thank you for sharing that wonderful background. So I will move on to a little bit about, what are the guiding principles, what kind of values we operate with. And Olivia, I'll go to you first and see, what values guide your work, what, company culture and hiring at T-Mobile is all about, right? Let's hear your perspective there.
Yeah, so I'd love to answer that question. At T-Mobile, I would say we are, really customer obsessed, right? We we want to improve the customer experience, hand over hand. And we build out our network at a really fast pace. So that's something that is super, super important to me is making sure we are satisfying our customers, and really acting like an owner in everything that we do, that we are producing high quality work, even though it's really fast, right? Sometimes it may be incremental, but we want to make sure that we really are owning everything that, we're pushing out there and really doing it the right way. Integrity is a large part of this business. We want to say what we mean and mean what we say, right? We've always been talking about, hey, we're the best network in the world, right? So we really do stand behind driving that type of performance, whether it's, in our corporate locations or even in the stores. I think, our connection to the customer is really part of why we are as big as we are, and everyone is satisfied. We literally do think about customer focus all the time and live the magenta values every day. So acting like the owner. I always feel too with my team, I strive to lead and inspire the team to really meet that customer focus and then inspire anyone I come across, right? As you mentioned, Shilpa, that PMO is really the bridge between a lot of different organizations. And part of the stuff that we do is developing new solutions. So really pushing folks to think outside of the box. What got us here yesterday won't really meet the goals of tomorrow.
Absolutely. We won't stop, right? That's
right.
We will never stop. And I appreciate something that you said, right? We are so results oriented. We are so customer focused.
Right.
But what is important is we do it the right way. right?
Absolutely.
Integrity and ethics is key. So thank you,
Yes.
Olivia.
No
Jocelyn, just staying on the same theme, I would love to hear your thoughts on what are the guiding principles that show up in your team's work or impacts decisions within your work group, right?
Well, definitely, I want to echo what Olivia said when we create happy customers and bringing this down to earth on the day-to-day work that we do. You know, in the project management office, we get to see everything end to end. And when we're going to touch the network, we are so responsible, and we assess in a go, no go, like, is this impacting to our subscribers? If it's impacting, at what time are we doing? What is the downtime? What is the rollback? You know, taking into consideration every single detail and putting a plan together so that we ensure our best subscriber experience ever with all the changes that we're making to the network. So definitely create happy customers is ingrained in our culture. And in our team also, we win together, kind of like what Olivia said, bringing everyone to the table. You know, we start with the lab team, the team in production, the team that's receiving the product that we're putting out there into production, who's going to manage it, you know, and just bringing everyone to the table and working together, one team together, is something that the PMO definitely is very strong at. And winning together, knowing that it wasn't only one team that got it done, and knowing that every single team has a responsibility to do it right and to get things done the right way. Those are definitely values that we see in our day-to-day work here in the PMO.
Awesome. And like I said, I mean, we couldn't do this without you guys, right? Within technology, the changes are happening at such a fast pace, right? We want to get our customers with the newest of technologies, the newest of the capabilities. And yes, keep making sure that we get that without any customer impact is so prime, right across the board, right? All teams are very, very conscious of that. So thank you. I wanted to move and talk a little bit about the diversity and inclusion piece within T-Mobile. We know that we are so committed to it, and there are so many programs, etc., that are ongoing within different verticals across T-Mobile, right? And there is a very concerted, very focused effort around it. So maybe Olivia, we'll start with you. We'll pick your brain on this a bit and say, what are some ways that you see that happening within your team?
Within my team, so I will say I've added headcount to my team over the last year, and even, I know we're going to talk about this a little later, was purposeful into finding people who were spread across, right, diverse, whether that be male, female, or any of the other groups. T-Mobile now has, not just now, but most recently have taken a really, really big part in this whole diversity and inclusion initiative. I mean, we have a ton of different programs throughout the organization that the employees can join. The information is pushed through email quite frequently. There's so many different groups. And on my team specifically, you know, we are a diverse bunch, and we constantly talk about, you know, having that being aware of unconscious bias and how we work with different groups of people across the org, right? The magic happens when we do have that diverse group versus just having everyone think the same or look the same or, you know, work in the same way. We really do create magic now that we have different skill sets across the entire org. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I know that the thought diversity is so important now, right? Especially with everything that's going out, especially with social media, and I appreciate that there's a lot of effort in bringing that in beyond what the other diversity pieces are as well. So thank you on that. Jocelyn, I'll pose the same question to you, and would love to hear your thoughts there.
So for diversity, making sure that the requisition, the open rec, reaches out to as many candidates as possible so that we get that rich pool of candidates when we're actually selecting the winner. So sometimes we'll have an open rec for 3 days, 5 days, and we don't get that rich representation. So just sometimes keeping the rec open a little longer just to make sure that we have that diverse pool of candidates to choose from. So that would, in my mind, in my team, cover the diversity part. At the end, definitely the best candidate is the one that's going to get the position, but we want to make sure that we have a representation of everyone at the table.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead, please.
For the inclusion piece, T-Mobile is great at providing trainings. There was an awesome training that comes to my mind with Inside Out, where people reflect about their blind spots. And because by nature, they're there, we just don't know. And the moment that you reflect and you're aware of them and that you can change this, you're able to enrich the team in so many different ways, because it's nice to have diversity, but if the diversity is not included, then we have a problem. And T-Mobile has great trainings of teaching us how to actually include everyone.
Excellent. And I love how you both talked a little bit about, you know, having those opportunities available externally, so we have a good diverse talent pipeline, right? So maybe Kim, would love to hear a little bit about that from you. So what kind of skill sets or job roles are in high demand right now within T-Mobile, and how do we open up those opportunities even more?
Yeah, sure. So specifically in ETS, I mean, we're always looking for project and portfolio managers, and what they looking for them to highlight different areas of our business, really, because they help move the projects from the business through each organization to then determine whether you know, what they're bringing and what they're proposing is executable, right? And then that's brought to the ETS team and our technology teams and network to see if that then they execute it at that point. So we are looking for a lot of project managers. We are looking for our what we call SWE engineers. They're software engineers. Sometimes they come with specific skill sets like Salesforce or Teradata. So you may be a graduate in engineering, but looking into skill sets, you can go right onto the Salesforce website. You can take one of those courses basically to kind of couple it with your degree. But we are looking with or for people that bring those types of different skill sets to the table. Oracle, Java, cloud, those might be buzzwords that you've heard, but those are kind of the hot skills right now and titles.
Great, thank you, Ken. So Olivia, I'll pose this a little bit more to be specific, right? So when you are looking for good project managers for your team, what kind of skill sets, what kind of qualifications, background, etc. are you looking for?
So I would love to answer that. So I think for a PM and the PMO, right, we've just even over the last year, we've doubled in size with the merge that Kim was talking about. And with that comes, you know, our network has expanded. So we really do look for PMs with strong PM backgrounds, right? The PM fundamentals, experience in the field is always super important. Those real hard facts, hard skill sets, as well as the soft skills, right? So we also are looking for people who are team players that can lead, you know, executive meetings, have relationship building skill sets. Some of those soft skills, communication is super important. So it's kind of a mix of both, right? It's that happy medium of you have those technical skills on how to lead projects and lead programs, because sometimes we think something's a project and it becomes way bigger. And then those soft skills are super important as well.
Absolutely, thank you. So let's pick Kim's brain a bit more and see what advice she has for people that are looking to get the attention of a T-Mobile recruiter or get their foot in the door.
Yeah, sure. It's always great if you network. Networking's key. Networking's going to get you in the door. LinkedIn is a great vehicle to bridge you with individuals within, you know, say a domain that you're interested in. I would just go into LinkedIn and actually put T-Mobile in there and see who pops up in the areas that you're interested in, and try to connect with them and put that extra effort into writing a note to say, hey, I'm looking to just network with you. This is what I'm interested in. If you could point me in the right direction. Also, we have our website, and we have all our jobs listed there. And we post a lot when we talk about diversity. We, as a company, are really partnering with the diversity groups out there in underutilized markets to get in touch with individuals who are interested in the technology field. And so we're doing a lot of partnerships to try to facilitate some of those new partnerships. So I would just make sure your resume is nice and updated. Some people ask me, do I put my address on my resume? I say, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of times I'm looking at resumes and I'm like, where are they from? I'm just curious where they're from, because ideally we hire nationally, so it's not going to necessarily matter all the time. Add as much information as you can, but not too much information then to oversteer. But just you really want to highlight the skills and experience that you have. If you have any internships, you want to make sure that that is something that you call out. Internships are very important if you have the opportunity to do so. Those are some of the key things I would recommend.
Perfect. And I know before you talked about some of the roles that you recruit for, right? Portfolio managers and project managers, etc., and sometimes software engineers as well. So I know I was looking at a question here as well, and maybe it's a good point to understand. If we do a lot of non-technical positions as well, of course, right? I mean, across the board, other than the technology teams or some of the pure software dev teams, there are a lot of opportunities for non-technical folks as well, right? Could you share a little bit more around that?
Yeah, I mean, to access any of those positions, you can go right in and actually, look at all of our project positions open. And then what I do highly suggest that you go through the qualifications of the role, because then that will determine whether, they are looking for someone with Java experience, or they're looking with someone in an agile or safe environment, and you may not have it. Or you may not be interested in that. Like you said, it's non-technical. So I would definitely go do a search on our website on T-Mobile Careers, and it will auto-populate project positions across the country, and it will give a description of what the role should be doing.
Perfect. So I'll go to Jocelyn after this one. So when you are looking to hire for your team, what does that hiring process look like for you?
Sure, happy to share that. So first, there needs to be an open rec. I have people reaching out to me, I want to join your team. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. You can send me your resume now, but I don't have an open rec. And that means my team is full. There's a head count, and I have a team of 11, and I cannot magically have a team of 12. There's a whole process to get that extra person there. So timing is very crucial for if you want to join a specific team. Saying that, it doesn't mean you don't have to wait for my team or Olivia's team or Shilpa's team. You can go into the career website and actually look for keywords of things that you're good at, and you'll see all the actual open recs that you can apply for today. So if someone leaves my team and I happen to have an open rec, then I start that process. The next step is I will reach out to my HR recruiting partner, and I'll tell them, hey, I have this open rec and this is what I'm looking for, and they will publish it. Sometimes it's published only internal, especially with the Sprint acquisition. We have a lot of people changing departments, and sometimes we're looking for someone internal. Most of the time it is open to someone external, and that's where, all of you would probably have the opportunity to come in. So looking at that open rec, seeing that you actually qualify, and submitting your resume. Once you submit the resume, the first pass through is actually done by the recruiter, not the hiring manager. So the recruiter would look at the resume and would say, oh, this one meets what Jocelyn wants, this one doesn't meet, and they'll just push it aside. So make sure that on your resume, you are highlighting skills that the open rec is actually asking for, so that you're not put in the pack of people that don't qualify for this position. Make sure that you highlight the soft skills that are also in that open rec so that you also have an opportunity. So once the recruiter has done that shortlisting, she would recommend interview or not interview. For those that she recommends interview, we normally proceed with the interview. Sometimes the hiring manager sees something else and say, I would also like to interview this one, and we would go through that. So that first interview is done by the recruiter. Please, please, please do your best with the recruiter interview. They are taking notes and they send those notes to the hiring manager. And they do say it in the beginning of the call, but sometimes I'm reading answers and I'm like, did they know that I was going to get these answers? It's just funny. So please do your very best to do very well with that first interview of the recruiter. Once the recruiter sends over the notes to the hiring manager, I will review them. And according to the answers I got, then I shortlist and I say, okay, now out of these 5 people that you send me, I just want to interview these 3. And that's round 2 of interview. Once I've done my interview, then it goes to a panel. And normally it's with your peers to see if you're going to be a good fit for the team. And once you've done the panel interview, they come with their recommendation. And based on what the recruiter thought, what I thought, and what the panel thought, then we make a decision of who's going to be the winning candidate. And that's for the senior project manager position. When I applied for the senior manager position, I did those 3 interviews. And on top of that, I had to also interview with my HR partner, which would see where my career is going and where my head was at, and if actually I was supposed to go in that direction. So that would be a 4th interview there. And then finally, I had to interview with my VP for him to give the blessing for me to be a senior manager. And that would be 5 interviews for a senior manager position. So it's a lengthy process, but it goes fast. You'll be surprised. We get candidates in a week or in 2 weeks, and it's just, it works very well, in my opinion. We've had great candidates join the team.
Yeah, thank you, Jocelyn. And I think the process is pretty similar across the various verticals, with a little bit of a difference, right? Depending on how many panels you have to go through, sometimes less versus the other. But it also depends upon, I think, what position you're interviewing for, right? I mean, as it gets to be more senior position, I think there is a little bit more interview process extension, I guess. But you're right, we move fast, so and we want to kind of hire quickly, right? So thank you for that. Kim, I'll come back to you with my last question. I know we are getting to the time where we would like to open it up for questions.
Okay.
I want to make sure we have enough time for that. But my last question to you is, I know you shared some of the things that the folks should be looking at, but could you just summarize for us the do's and don'ts so that that can help folks navigate the hiring process successfully within T-Mobile?
Sure. I would say, and to piggyback too on what Jocelyn was saying, is that part of what the recruiters do is they are reviewing your resume in length. So what you want to do is make sure that if you're applying to a rec, that you check some of the boxes that are there in the qualifications. And if you do and you notice it's not in your resume, it would behoove you to put those in your resume, because that's how you're really like overlooked, because we don't know if you've done or have a certain skill set unless it's listed in your resume. So that is something that you should be doing. Be cognizant of it. And also, like I had said earlier, make sure you do review each rec and not just apply to everything. Be selective, and just make sure that that information is also in your resume so it can be called out when we review it. I would say some of the don'ts. On your resume, we don't need a picture. We can't wait to meet you in person or do a video chat, but you don't need to add that to your resume. And I would say in the interview, come prepared. We really, like Jocelyn said, for all levels, we have behavioral interviewing. So they're asking you specific questions about your experiences, and they're looking for recent examples, solid examples of you know, what you're passionate about, what you've accomplished, what you're looking to do. And so in these interviews, whether you meet with 3 people or 5, each are, they come with a purpose. And for our manager positions, we do call out diversity and inclusion, and we do call out leading people, having direct leader experience. So we do like to peel back in our interviews, really get to know you and understand, you know, what it is that you're looking to bring to the table. And yeah, so we get really excited in our interviews, and they're very productive, although you can have quite a few.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, ladies. That was some good conversation and information. Joe, I'll give it back to you now, and we can.
Yeah, thank you all. What a lot of great insights, and lots of questions. So you've covered quite a lot of the topics, I think, in your responses, but there are a few specific ones. So let's just run through them. Kim, you talked about, you know, some of the do's and don'ts of applying and the process. It's really tough when you're applying for lots of jobs, and, you know, does the system allow you to be able to let people know when they're not being considered? What normally happens?
Yeah, sure. Once a recruiter reviews a resume, if they're interested, they're put into a certain status. And so if we're looking for, say, an architect, and it requires, say it's a senior architect that requires 4 years experience, and the person has 1, right? We would then send them an email saying, thank you for applying. And please consider other opportunities. But at this time, we had moved to another candidate. So we do put our individuals in statuses, so they should know right away where they are in the process, and they should be able to see that also in the portal on their end.
Right. Okay. Good to know. Can you give us an idea, like, just how many candidates do you have for some of the sort of big job pool categories?
Yeah,
what's the
so
volume?
I'll tell you what, this is a candidate's market. I mean, we have a lot of jobs that we have a hard time filling the right candidates in. And so like I would say, I have like my senior manager rec that I'm working on right now, there's probably 30 applicants. Out of the 30 applicants, maybe 4 or 5 are moving forward because it's a senior level position. And it does have people management, direct management experience. So that's an example there. Our projects and our portfolio management positions, they do attract quite a bit. I think it's the title, because the title can be a little generic, but then when you read the qualifications, it may call it a certain skill set that that allows the recruiter to really peel back each resume to make sure it's what the manager is looking for.
Right. So looking on the list, there's a question from Anna about her experience in retail and whether that would apply into jobs that you have available. Can you see that there will be transferable skills for job openings?
You know, I would say to her, what does she want to do, right? If she's looking to get into technology, 100% we consider our own, you know, T-Mobile retail folks, sales folks. Actually, it doesn't, whether it's retail or call center. If you're interested in technology, there's opportunities. It's an associate level opportunity. It could be a lateral move per se from retail to associate, but it's getting your foot in the door. That's an excellent way to start a career. We have so many stories of associate level employees just really going up in the ladder, if you will, in their career.
Very good. I actually know that there are some special programs that you have for people who are coming from different kind of groups. Like you have a relationship with ReachHire. Do you know, are you familiar with that? And I think you have some tech kind of programs that help people kind of get some experience. Does someone want to speak to some of these kind of pathways into the organization for people who don't perhaps have the most typical career paths?
I'd be happy to answer that. I was in my team, we did get to host a Reach Hire candidate, actually 2 of them. And Reach Hire, what they do is people that have been out of the workforce for more than 2 years and want to get their foot back into the workplace. It doesn't have to be women, it could be women or men, especially veterans that have been out in training and things like that, and stay-at-home moms or caring for an adult, or for whatever reason you decided to leave the workforce and you want to get your foot back in, then we partner with Reach Hire and give those people an opportunity. And it's been a great experience, because when you see all the knowledge that these people bring to the table, and that it's just hard because the last time they worked was 10 years ago. But then once they get their feet in, just teaching them now how to use WebEx. At the time, we had to teach how to use Skype and refreshers on Excel and all these things. I actually ended up hiring both my candidates. They are rock stars. I think the thirst or the desire to thrive, to succeed in a role where they left the workforce 10 years ago. My candidate had worked 10 years ago, and she's a total rock star. She attention to details, take care of everything. She puts it so hard on herself to actually succeed that I've loved the program, and we're very happy to help in that sense.
Is information about that available on the career site, as far as you know, your T-Mobile career site?
I don't think so, but if you go to Reach Hire to their website, I'm sure you'll be able to get information there if you.
I think that's a great idea for anyone who's on the call that's been out of traditional work for a couple of years. I think that they have applications open right now for T-Mobile, from what I've heard. What about internships? There was a question from someone about could someone who's got some work experience in a different field qualify for an internship, or are the internships mainly for college students? Do you have any info on that?
I mean, if you're, I think internships are great, and actually should be part of a prerequisite in college. And so I think it is in some colleges, right? Where you are building that experience. So yeah, any type of experience that you can say you had, and if it has to be an internship, if you're moving into a different field, then it's considered experience, and it works towards whatever that qualification is. Like, so if they're looking for 4 years experience in Java development, and you had an internship for a solid year, that's 1 year to the 4 that they're looking for.
I guess I was thinking about internships at T-Mobile. Yeah.
We do have the tech experience, yes, where they come in during the summer. They have to be either at the end of their career or almost recently grads. And it's very fun, because they group them all together and they spread them around in different organizations of T-Mobile. And then at the end, there's this event where you actually go job shopping, where you get to mingle and talk to hiring managers that actually have an open rec. So because I don't have an open rec, I'm not going to be invited. But if next summer I have an open rec, I would be there, and I would be mingling with these candidates, and I'd be talking about their experience and sharing with them, and give them an opportunity for an interview to actually so they can convert into a full-time employee, what we call FTE. So it has great benefits. You get to see what T-Mobile does before you decide to apply. And you also get to see if the culture is a good fit for you. And the same for T-Mobile. T-Mobile gets to see if the candidate actually is a good fit for T-Mobile. So I think it's a win-win, testing the waters before you actually get into the job.
So that would be, someone had asked about transitioning into a PM specific role at T-Mobile from higher ed. So the internship path might be a a good one for that, sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah. What about, do you know anything about MBA programs? There was one person that asked about MBA internships or any particular recruiting that you do MBA students.
Yeah, I think we do that as well, because our summer interns that come in, and as Jocelyn was pointing out, right, that have already either just completed or would be completing. I do know that in some years I have reviewed MBA graduates as well. But again, at the end of the day, it just depends upon if there was an internship opportunity opened up by an org that was looking for that candidate. But my understanding is, yes, it is opened if there are requests open for that skill set.
Yeah, so probably the best advice is just to really keep an eye on the website and maybe do some networking with individuals if you can, to find out when something might be kind of coming into along the pipeline.
That's right. And I know the internship and fairs continue to happen, and we continue to do those. So yeah, just keep an eye out for those whenever they are happening.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask about, so for the PMO office, there's a question about types of entry level and associate level positions. Is there an entry level? Like, what is the most junior PM role that you guys recruit for? And would someone with 1 or 2 years of work experience, perhaps doing something like, you know, working on projects, but maybe not as an official project manager, could they be considered for something like that?
Yeah, so I'll chime in first, Jocelyn. So for the PMO, our positions range from a PM all the way through a group project manager, which is probably industry standard for a program manager. So we've got a PM, a senior PM, and then a GPM as far as individual contributors. I actually started the PMO with just project coordinator experience. When I was hired in 2016, I had led projects unofficially in my other role, but with help of someone else in the PMO. So yes, there is appetite for someone who's just joining in fresh to the field, but has some sort of coordinator experience, or some of those soft skills that we were talking about, right? Really good communication skills, relationship building skills, negotiating skills, and some familiarity with the tools that project managers use. So templates, Excel is super important, but there's definitely appetite for someone who is fairly new to the PM role to enter as a PM.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, echoing what Olivia said, we do have the coordinator role as the lowest, but generally these go out to contractors. So in T-Mobile, we have full-time employees, which we call FTEs, and we have NTWs, which is non-T-Mobile workers. And we partner, ReachHire would be one of those companies that we partner with for NTWs, and TechSystem is another company that we partner with. So even if I don't have an open rec, but I have this huge project that I need to bring in more people for 6 months or maybe 9 months. And I can do that through an NTW, which would be, in my case, through TechSystem. And across the org, there's different organizations that we partner with for contractors. Mm-hmm. So at the coordinator level, through contractors to any of these companies, it's, you know, your basic admins, and you learn through there. We have hired NTWs converted into FTEs from the coordinator to the PM level because they did a great job, and we want to keep them as soon as we get an open rec. So as Olivia said, so there's the coordinator, project manager, senior project manager, and then the group project manager. So you're able to escalate 4 pay bands within the PMO. So there's definitely room for growth, career growth, if you're starting at the coordinator position, and even at the PM position, there's a lot of room for growth. And also for people that don't have that straight out of college experience that you need for a senior PM. Something else I want to touch on is if you don't have the project manager certificate or degree that we're asking for, because normally we would ask for the certificate plus 5 years of experience, the way we do it is you have to have double the experience if you don't have the theory. So if you have no college degree or you didn't do the certificate or so on, then you're required to have 10 years of experience for a senior project manager because you have no theory to back it up. So, but the person that does have the theory only needs 5 years. And it's the same for all the other categories. So the experience would normally double if you don't have that degree behind you.
That's great info. Can I just ask one question about you're obviously familiar with the UW project management certificate. That is a sort of preferred training option for the PMP certification. Do you, like, to what extent do you put a lot of weight on actually getting that PMP certification to be qualified for, you know, for roles at T-Mobile versus just doing the certificate program or gaining some other kind of training, but perhaps not going through to the certification, which I think it can be, I don't know, I've heard that it's pretty hard. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, so the PMP certificate is in the nice to have category.
Mhm.
It's not mandatory, and we do not disqualify candidates for not being certified. The candidates that have the 9-month certificate definitely qualify for having the theory, and those are the ones that get shortlisted. Then after your shortlisting and interviews and a lot of other factors, then we say, oh, well, this is a nice to have, but it's not mandatory. We do not require it to be mandatory.
That's great. We've got a few questions about user experience, entry-level roles for UX designers, and then I think there was another question in the chat about UX. Is this a question of just going to the website to look, or does anyone have any comments about UX opportunities?
I know in my domain, I don't have any, so I don't know if anybody else does. And if not, then yes, the website.
Yeah, I would suggest the same.
Also BI and database development.
Same.
Same.
Same applies?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I just want to share my experience here. When I was looking for a job, I would spend hours in the websites with keywords looking, because even though I network, I know people, they're not going to tell me, oh, there's this open rec here for you. No, I have to find the open rec. And when I have the open rec, then I would put it to that person. I'd say, hey, there's this open rec. Do you know the hiring manager? Can you recommend me? There's a great thing at T-Mobile is that we're all recruiters. If I recommend Olivia, I get a bonus for Olivia. If Olivia's actually hired, I get a bonus for recommending a rock star to T-Mobile. So networking is definitely part of the T-Mobile culture, but there's some legwork that you have to do yourself. And that is spending hours in every company's career website, looking for keywords of things that actually apply to you. And then you start networking. There's this open rec that I'm interested in. Do you know the hiring manager?
Yes. And I would suggest too that on our website, you can sign up for the job alerts, and those are fabulous for anyone. And every company usually has them. And I know LinkedIn has them and Indeed has them, and let them, not only are you doing the work, but let these alerts do the work, and you'll get them right to your email. Also, Glassdoor is a very great resource.
That's great. I wanted to just really quickly ask about the opportunities for people to perhaps come in to T-Mobile into one role, and then the flexibility to perhaps move sideways into a different department or into a different team. Do you support kind of training or career development type to allow people to easily kind of move around the organization? Like, is there a culture around trying to retain people and move them around over a long period of time that exists?
Yes, It does, and I'll talk a little bit from the network technology side of the house, right? We really promote a program that we call as rotational development program, right? What that means is there's a website where internally a lot of different RDP options would be posted, right? Various teams, and candidates can go in and say, hey, this is something I've wanted to do, but let me go try. So what that means is you can go try that job or role for 6 months. So you can learn something new. So a couple of ways, right? Either you can bring that experience back to your team and you've already expanded your learning, or you say, hey, I like it and I want to stay there if there is a rec open there or an opportunity to stay and do that job. So I think within technology, that is definitely something that we promote quite a bit. But other than that as well, there is a lot of support to go and let folks go and try something different within the org, right? But again, recs have to be open, and then of course, then it's just the process of it. But yes, there's a lot of support, at least within technology, and I know PMO does the same.
I feel like we're running out of time, but are there any questions that you're seeing, panelists, that you really want to jump on and respond to? Because I think we've only got like time for perhaps one more question. I can definitely throw one out to you, but if you've spotted something that you want to address, let me know.
I'm going to quickly scroll through it as well, Joe.
There's a lot. I'm really sorry, everyone, that we don't have time for all your questions. I know there are some very specific ones about like visas. Do you support visas? Do you want to say anything about that?
Sure. I mean, we support everyone. Okay. I mean, you apply. We don't. When I screen a resume, I don't look to see if someone requires sponsorship. We ask the question for knowledge so we can move forward in the right direction when we go to offer. Yeah, we 100% support sponsoring. I know specifically in our organization we do technical. So yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts or words?
I just see a question in the chat about what is a recommendation for someone to gain management experience if they've never had a direct report but wants to move into a management position. Be a mentor. That's a perfect way to kind of get that management experience unofficially. But being a mentor to someone who's a step below you in the career path or in another org, that would really show that you're able to guide folks. Another way is, if your manager's out for, a week or so, maybe raise your hand to be the, person that fills in for their role for them. So you get some experience that way. There's a couple of different ways that you can get some unofficial experience in that field while you're looking for a role as a manager.
And I see you put the Reach Higher link in the chat, which is awesome, and really encourage everyone to go to the website and look at some of the open recs. And then, our panelists obviously have spent a good amount of time sharing their insights today. Would you be open to perhaps answering any questions on LinkedIn that come up from people that have attended today? That would be great. Well, really big thank you for spending your lunchtime with us today, both to the attendees and to the panelists, and look forward to bringing another Employer Insights session to our students and adult learners in the coming months. We don't actually have anything scheduled in the next month, but in 2022, we will be coming back with some more of these lunchtime sessions. But for now, just thank you so much to Shilpa, Jocelyn, Olivia, and Kim. It's been really great to talk to you about T-Mobile today. Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.